It is narrated that in the future, a catastrophe spreads across the world, bringing humanity to the brink of extinction. Among the remaining humans, a wanderer is shown trying to find shelter in the forest. One day, he finds a place but ignores a no-entry sign, resulting in a bullet piercing his head after a girl named B fires a shot. It is revealed that the girl lives in a luxurious house with mostly glass walls. It is also known that B lives with a family isolated from the outside world, led by an unnamed mother. B has 3 siblings, Evie, Gabe, and the youngest, Daisy. Their mother has designed an entire system to ensure their survival, including growing their own vegetables and fruits as food sources and providing clean air. The air outside is polluted by something called the shred. The shred is not deadly, but it causes those exposed to lose their memory, even forgetting who they are, which often drives them insane and makes them act brutally. Additionally, the mother gives each child a necklace with their initials to help them remember who they are. They are also required to live in an orderly manner and wear masks when going outside. Despite these precautions, Gabe once forgot to wear his mask as a child, resulting in a condition similar to dementia. The family is forced to chain him up whenever he has a bad day. Strangers are strictly forbidden from entering or even approaching the house, as experienced by the Wanderer earlier. After B confirms that the Wanderer is not their missing brother, Luca, she fires the shot. If it had been Luca, he would have given a secret code to identify himself. After disposing of the foreign Wanderer, the girls take specific body parts to conduct a ritual and make fertilizer, then bury the remaining parts in the yard. The man shot that day had a photograph in one of his pockets, so Evie takes the photo for herself, stores it in a special secret box, and buries the box in the greenhouse. During the ritual, the whole family gathers in a room around the body parts, expressing their gratitude for having a place of refuge called the sanctuary. These feelings are poured into paintings that adorn the glass walls, depicting stories of a mother with her family, always remembering as part of their promise. One night, while B is on guard duty, she suddenly sees a stranger approaching their home. B uses a flashlight to signal, but the stranger does not respond. Normally, this would mean he should be killed, but for some reason, B feels something upon seeing his face. Eventually, she breaks the rules and brings the stranger into the house. Naturally, the mother is furious and wants to get rid of the stranger, but Daisy reminds everyone that the house is a sanctuary. Anyone inside the house is considered sacred, including the stranger brought in by B. With no other choice, the mother decides to use this opportunity to teach her children how to sew wounds, as the stranger's leg is badly injured. The next morning, the stranger wakes up to find himself bound and sees B sleeping next to him. Meanwhile, Gabe also wakes up and realizes he has wet the bed. Evie asks B for help to clean up. B, eager to stay close to the stranger, helps Evie quickly remove the mattress, leaving Evie awkwardly alone to clean up after their brother. Meanwhile, B hurried back to the stranger to tidy his beard, and shortly after, the man woke up. Initially, B felt scared and cautious, asking several unanswered questions as the stranger also had questions of his own. Once the atmosphere calmed down, B and Evie changed the stranger's bandages, and then the mother came in to question, or more accurately, interrogate him. The stranger explained that, as far as he could remember, he had no name. He went on to describe a world where almost nothing was left of civilization, forcing some survivors to scavenge or starve. One of these survivors attacked the stranger, causing his injury. The stranger then wondered if he was allowed to leave, but the mother did not permit it since he now knew about the greenhouse. He had to stay and work like the others. The scene shifted to some time later, when Evie noticed that Gabe felt uncomfortable with the stranger's presence. She tried to comfort Gabe by showing him a toy he had made, which he did not remember. At one point, B did something bolder to bring Gabe closer to the stranger, urging Gabe to touch him to prove that the stranger was just like them. Unfortunately, Gabe remained suspicious and cautious. The next day, the stranger was given tasks to do in the greenhouse, though he was still chained for safety. B remained obsessed with him, even bringing him a plate of fresh fruit, feeling very happy when he chose a strawberry. Even B promised to teach the stranger to read, and whenever Evie needed help with house chores, Bea would evade them to spend more time with the stranger. This made Evie upset, reminding Bea that the stranger couldn't be trusted. However, Bea was blinded by love. At one point, Bea and the stranger were working on sealing a gap in a window. Bea explained to the stranger that the paintings or drawings on the glass walls represented their life stories. One particular image that caught the stranger's attention was of a man. Bea explained that this man meant everything to her. During dinner, Bea tried to invite the stranger to sit with the family, but the mother forbade it, stating that place was reserved for Luca. It was known that Luca was out gathering information about other survivors and had not yet returned. Days passed, and the stranger's leg gradually healed. At one point, Daisy asked about animals, having never seen any. The stranger described an amazing animal, the horse, which is both intelligent and fast. He promised to make a carving of one if Daisy could bring him a knife. Daisy secretly took a knife from her sister's basket and gave it to the stranger. From then on, the stranger and Daisy grew closer, a fact that did not go unnoticed by Gabe, who became jealous. A few days later, the stranger finished carving the horse for Daisy. It consisted of several parts like a puzzle. Seeing Gabe's interest, the stranger let him play with the carved horse. Suddenly, Gabe had a violent outburst. That night, Bea looked at herself in the mirror, lamenting the bruises on her face from Gabe's outburst earlier. The stranger approached and teased her about it. Inadvertently, Bea called the stranger Luca. The stranger admitted he couldn't be Luca because he felt things he shouldn't feel as a brother. Surprisingly, Bea was pleased by this revelation because Luca felt the same way about her. The Glasshouse family no longer kept the stranger chained, allowing him to roam freely while still completing his assigned tasks. In the next room, the stranger found Evie with a box and questioned her about it. Evie explained that the box was part of a game they used to play with Luca. The stranger expressed his desire to join the game, but Evie refused, stating that he wasn't Luca. Additionally, she said that the stranger shouldn't participate in family activities, especially the rituals. The stranger disagreed, believing the rituals were good for remembering who they were, implying that he also needed to remember. Still curious, the stranger later approached Bea and Daisy to talk about the box. Daisy didn't remember it because she was very young when the game was played. For Bea, the box reminded her of Luca, who always hid her favorite things in it, like strawberries. Sometime later, the stranger apologized to Evie for his previous words, but Evie still couldn't trust him. She admitted that if she had been on guard duty that night, she would have killed the stranger without hesitation. As the stranger went downstairs, he encountered the mother, who reiterated that everything has a purpose, and she now understood the stranger's purpose. The next day, while the three sisters were working in the garden, the stranger came by and left strawberries for Bea. This gesture convinced Bea even more that the stranger was actually Luca, who had been forgotten. However, Evie rejected this idea, feeling it was a form of manipulation. In the afternoon, the stranger joined Bea on guard duty. During this time, their relationship took a significant step forward. After shooting another survivor trying to approach the house, they solidified their relationship, which was witnessed by Evie. This reminded Evie of an incident years ago when she was careless, and young Gabe went outside without a mask. Later, the stranger, knowing that Evie had seen them, decided to confront her, teasing her and making her angry. Evie claimed she couldn't be manipulated like her sister and walked away. At the same time, the stranger noticed something strange in the ground. Upon investigating, he found the game box, along with a small bundle containing a necklace with the initial L for Luca and some batteries. Curious, the stranger then asked Daisy about the necklaces. Daisy explained that they were a birth gift from their mother and could only be removed upon death. During a ritual, disregarding Evie's objections, the stranger came forward with the necklace marked L and claimed to be Luca. He said he couldn't remember until he arrived at the Glasshouse and met his sisters. This caused an argument, with Bea accusing Evie of being a peeping Tom, which led to Gabe's current condition. After dinner, the stranger sat in Luca's chair, making Gabe even more anxious. Evie went to her mother and complained about being the only one who could see the truth. The mother comforted her, saying that a plan was in place because Luca would always leave.
Do you trust him? I'm the only one who thinks the truth matters. Luca always leaves.
What's that noise?
It's the natural rhythm of things.
A few days later, the stranger's leg had fully recovered, so the mother assigned him to guard alone. Meanwhile, the girls were washing clothes, and Evie noticed that Bee was late with her period and immediately informed the mother. A few weeks later, the mother confidently stated that Bee was pregnant. Bee was very happy to hear this, but unfortunately, the feeling did not last long. The mother explained that their resources were very limited, so Bee had to choose between the baby and the stranger. Anger, sadness, and confusion mixed together, and at the same time, panic struck Gabe, causing him to run away. Evie quickly chased after him to prevent a repeat of past tragedies. Fortunately, the stranger swiftly caught Gabe and brought him back home, reminding Evie not to blame herself. Feeling disturbed by jealousy, Bee quickly invited the stranger to guard with her on the next shift. Upon arriving at the guard post, Bee talked about the pregnancy, and they both agreed that they needed to leave the house to save the baby. However, the stranger rejected this idea, believing there must be a better way. That night, Evie left her bed, and the stranger followed her. They discussed Evie's guilt, with the stranger suggesting that Evie shouldn't have helped Gabe if she wasn't sincere. The stranger claimed that Evie didn't truly love Gabe, and that her actions towards him were purely out of pity. The mother became suspicious, realizing that the stranger was always nearby whenever Gabe had an outburst. The stranger argued that Gabe had become increasingly dangerous and suggested it might be better to leave Gabe outside with his memory wiped. However, the mother rejected this proposal and remained firm that the stranger must leave the Glasshouse. That night, as usual, the mother tied Gabe to the bed while recounting their story, reminding Gabe that he was deeply loved. On her way out, the mother encountered the stranger and told him that the woman couldn't be manipulated, so the only solution was to get rid of her. The stranger then left the mother's body near Gabe's bed and staged it to look like Gabe had committed the murder. The noise woke Gabe, and he was immediately saddened to see his mother lifeless. Now the stranger needed to incite Gabe's anger to summon the girls for support. Bee was indeed very angry, but couldn't believe that Gabe had killed their mother, so she tried to figure out how this could have happened. Meanwhile, the stranger returned to Gabe, silenced him, and opened a window to let the shred in, claiming it was for Gabe's own good so he could forget and be happy again. The stranger also explained that he kept seeing the people he loved drown in destruction. He wanted to forget too, but couldn't, because his body was immune to the shred. The girls began preparing their mother's body for the ritual, but Daisy felt uncomfortable with this, so Evie took her away to calm her down, not realizing they had left the game box behind. Inside, Bee found a package labeled with the name Luca and 2 batteries. This discovery triggered memories of when she shot a wanderer, which had never been told before. Bee then ran outside to dig up a grave in the yard and eventually found the flashlight, which made everything clear. It was revealed that Bee was the one who shot Luca because she couldn't respond to the secret code due to the flashlight's dead batteries. Shocked to realize that she wasn't wearing a mask and had inhaled toxic air, Bee tried to forget everything. Since the batteries and the necklace were in the box, Evie must have known about Luca's death all along. A heated argument ensued between the 2 sisters. Bee expressed her disappointment, revealing that Evie's silence had made her believe Luca would return. Evie defended herself, saying she had kept quiet to protect Bee from the pain. This revelation inspired Bee to leave and inhale the shred together to forget everything. But Evie refused. Shortly after, the stranger arrived to stop them. Feeling jealous of the stranger's newfound attention towards Evie, Bee decided to run outside alone, inhale the shred, and forget everything. Evie realized that she was slowly losing her entire family, as the shred left her as the only one with memories. The stranger reassured Evie that he also had memories and promised to support her, not remind her of the bad ones, and work together to always protect their family. From that point on, leadership fell to Evie, with the stranger acting as her deputy. Daisy now had new memories that she was Bee's daughter, and Bee herself received new memories that the child she was carrying was Luca's. They then performed a ritual for their mother's body and began a new happy life. Now only Evie wore a mask, while the stranger did not, due to his immunity to the shred. Both hoped that the baby Bee was carrying would inherit the immunity from its father. Gabe, who no longer spoke, was allowed to roam freely and do as he pleased. One day, a moment triggered Gabe's memory, leading him to dig up some graves in the yard, where he made a surprising discovery. The film ends by showing a day when the stranger, on his turn to guard while watching Gabe, encounters a wanderer trying to approach. This makes the stranger consider, and in the end, the discovery of the skeleton wearing necklaces with the initials B and E suggests that Bee and Evie might not be the originals or the true ones. It is possible that Bee, Evie, Gabe, Daisy, and even Luca are not the originals. They are merely survivors who were allowed to live by the mother, with new memories implanted to create a family. The woman they have always called Mother may not be the real mother. This is based on the fairy tale told by the mother at the beginning of the film about a little girl wandering through human savagery. The girl was too elusive to be captured and traveled until she found the Glasshouse, which had been enchanted. The mother further explained that only those who could remember were allowed to stay in the house, while nameless monsters were not permitted to enter. And that's it for the story series of this film. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to support this channel by subscribe, like and share. See you in the next video. Goodbye.